Hello and welcome to Lapping Analytics. My name is Jimmy Lapping. I'm a psychologist and statistician with an interest in research in a variety of areas. And in this video, I provide a worked example of how to perform qualitative comparative analysis using DeepSeek. DeepSeek is a large language model or a family of large language models that you can find via the link that is presented here. It runs on your PC, laptop, mobile phone as you wish, and it's open source, and it is, in my view, a good competitor for large language models like ChatGPT, especially when it comes to mathematics, statistics, or the broader data analysis. Personally, I think that DeepSeek performs better than ChatGPT. I posted a video a while ago showing how ChatGPT sometimes provides the wrong estimates of correlation coefficients, for instance, makes very basic mistakes even for very small data sets. And in the video that I prepared for today, I also ran the analysis in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT made some very basic mistakes, despite the prompts being very accurate, very specific, and DeepSeek providing a 100% correct performance. So, I'm going to explain in a minute what I mean by qualitative comparative analysis. I've shot a few videos on that topic already, which you can find on my channel, but I will explain that in a minute. First of all, I'm going to give a very brief overview of how to use a large language model like DeepSeek for data analytical purposes. So what you need, first of all, is a language prompt. That's how it works. You type language, you ask a question, for example. Although when it comes to data analysis, that language prompt usually consists of a few elements. First of all, there is a bit of context about, the study. If you've performed a study, if you have collected data, data is never just collected in a vacuum unless it's just numbers made up. There is always a context. Then you present the data in that given context, and you have, of course, one or several questions that you want to ask to DeepSeek that you want answers to. No? So you provide a context, you provide the data, and you have one or several questions given that context and given the data. So when it comes to the context, I provided this bit of information to DeepSeek. So a total of 50 junior sales reps, ID 1 to 50, undergo individual sales training and are assessed on a range of skills, including the following three: opening a conversation, O; asking questions to a customer to understand what they are looking for, Q; and summarizing to the customer the key points from the conversation with that customer, S, the S of summarizing. So we have either Q, O, or S, okay? For each sales rep, the strongest of these three skills is rated as a strength, STR, whereas the weakest of these three skills is rated as a need for improvement, IMP. So these are the variable names that we are going to use in a bit. Next, the combination variable, combi, lists the observed combinations of STR and IMP. I will show that in a minute. Finally, in the ultimate training exercise, for each sales rep, an outcome variable, type, is rated as follows: sold service A, sold service B, sold service C, or no service sold, and that would be denoted by the letter N. The data that we have is as follows. We have here our 50 sales reps, numbered 1 to 50. Each sales rep has one of the three skills, either questioning, Q, or opening, O, or summarizing, S, listed as a strength. And given one as a strength, there are two options still left for the improvement, right? Because the weakest of the three, relatively speaking, no, within that person, that's listed as an improvement, a need for improvement, or something they could work on. So basically, every sales rep gets a piece of feedback at the end of the training. One thing that is, very strong in their conversations, and one thing they could improve next. Okay, and then of course we have a fourth column, which is the type column, which is whether they sold service A, B, C, or no service at all. That would be letter N. And well, normally this data set would have 5 columns, but now I have split the different combinations out over different subsets. Combination 1 is the people that have questioning as strength, so they ask the right questions to see what the customer is looking for. And they have summarizing as a need for improvement. So they don't necessarily summarize the key points at the end of a conversation to make sure they have all the necessary information. Then combi 2 is the people who have opening as a strength. So the first maybe 30 seconds or a minute of the conversation, that opening is very strong. But they have as area of improvement, they have the questioning. Combi 3 is summarizing a strength and questioning as area of improvement. Combi 4 is questioning a strength and opening as area for improvement. So these are people that need a little bit of time to get started. The opening is not necessarily the best, but once they are going, they do ask the right questions, for instance. And for these people, summarizing is not listed as an area of improvement. It's so in terms of relative strength within the person, it's somewhere between questioning and opening. And combi 5 is opening as a strength and summarizing as a weakness. Okay, so that's the data. Now, we are not going to feed the data in this format to DeepSeek, but what we can do is simply in a text file present the data as you see here. So ID is the first line, is the first 2 lines, 1 to 50. So 1, comma 2, comma blah blah blah. Okay, this is how you show that. Okay, there are 50 different IDs. Then also for strength. So in the order of IDs, you also list the different strengths. The same for improvements, the same for combinations, and then the types. And this also the strength, improvements, combi, and type. The order in which each of these codes are provided is supposed to be the same as the order of IDs, because this way you communicate to DeepSeek that ID number 13, so that would need that is also the 13th label that you find under strength, and the 13th label that you find under improvement, the 13th label that you find under combi 1, and the 13th label that you find under type. Okay, that's how we hand in the data. Of course, we have given context, we have given data, but we also need a few questions. Now, what we want to know, first of all, is some basic frequencies, because we want to see how often these 3 skills are listed as strengths. Now, each of these 3 skills is listed as strengths. Why we do that? Well, first of all, it gives you a basic understanding, marginal understanding of the data, and if frequencies of some features are very small, like 1 or 2 cases, then it's difficult to draw conclusions of the kind that we would like to draw with qualitative comparative analysis. I will explain that in a minute. So these questions are really on basic frequencies of strengths, improvements, combinations, and types of services sold. Then there are questions on what we call single strength consistency. Now, single strength, because okay, each sales rep has one of these skills listed as strength, either Q or O or S, right? Either questioning, opening, or summarizing. And what is consistency? Well, consistency is what you, for instance, see here in question 2.1. What percentage of junior sales reps whose strength is Q, so questioning, so who are good at questioning, have type A? So they basically, you could say, how many of those that have questioning as strength sell service A, right? So basically it's the extent to which the presence of a feature results in a given outcome. That's consistency, right? So if, for instance, all people who have questioning as strength sell type A, then the consistency would be 100%. So the consistency, of course, varies also for that reason between 0 and 100, because if no sales reps that have questioning as strength sell type A, well, then the consistency, it's the answer to question 2.1, that consistency would be 0. So we ask the same for opening and for summarizing as strength. For type A, this is questions 2.1 to 2.3, and as noted below here, questions 2.4 to 2.12 are 3 sets of questions, as you see here for type A, but then for type B, type C, and type N. That's a simple copy-paste. What we also want to know is questions on consistency allowing one strength or another. Because remember that we have a column in the data, or a vector in the data, which specifies the skill that was listed as an area of improvement for the given participant. That was, again, either questioning or opening or summarizing. If someone has questioning as an improvement, what is the strength for that sales rep? Well, either opening or summarizing. So by saying improvement equals Q, it's basically saying those sales reps that as strength have either opening or summarizing. So this is actually a hidden or statement, right? Because, well, it's possible that maybe questioning, or that maybe one skill alone, it gives one type of consistency, but maybe if you combine, if it's either or, then you get even better outcomes. We will see that in a minute. So again, questions 3.1 to 3.3 is questions for type A. So which percentages of these different areas of improvement, well, are found in type, no, actually have type A. So for instance, the sales 3.1, the sales reps that have either opening or summarizing as strength, and hence as area of improvement questioning, how many of those have type A expressed in a percentage? And then again, questions 3.4 to 3.12, we repeat these 3 questions here for types B, C, and N. N would be no service sold. Now, again, we can also have a look at the combination. Because that's even more specific, because if I say combination 1, then I have to go back for a moment. That is questioning as strength and summarizing as improvement. This in this information we know exactly where opening is for these sales reps. It's in between questioning and summarizing, because questioning is the strength, summarizing the area of improvement. So opening is somewhere in between. If opening was stronger than questioning, then opening would have been listed as strength for that person. If opening was worse than summarizing, then opening would have been mentioned as an improvement instead of summarizing. So we know something about the order in these in these questions. It's a very specific order. Okay, so, and again, we have 5 questions for type A, and questions 4.6 to 4.20 repeat these combis 1 to 5 for types B, C, and N. Basically, again, in this case, okay, which percentage of sales reps that have a given combination of strength and weakness have type A, have type B, have type C, have type N, etc. Okay. Then we go to a second metric of qualitative comparative analysis. So the first is consistency. That is about, okay, the extent to which a given feature set, meaning strength, improvement, or combination thereof, the extent to which a given feature set results in a given type of service sold, that is consistency. Something's present. In how many percent of the cases does that result in a given outcome? Coverage is exactly the other way around. Here we ask the questions, for example in 5.1, what percentage of the cases where service A was sold, the sales rep had a very strong questioning round? It's the other way around, right? So there are so many cases with a specific outcome. How many, like what percentage of those outcomes are covered by, in this case, a given strength? Either Q, questioning, or O, opening, or summarizing, which is S. And again, questions 5.4 to 5.12, we basically, again, there are three sets of questions, as you see here, but except for instead of type A, you will see there type B, type C, and type N. Questions 6.1 to 6.12, instead of asking about strength, we ask about a specific area of improvement, which is to say allowing one strength or another. Keep in mind the sales reps that as area of improvement have questioning, they can have either summarizing or opening as a strength. So these percentages, again, now they are about specific areas of improvement, meaning basically or statements in terms of one strength or another. And again, question 6.4 to 6.12, three sets of questions, not for type A, but for B, C, and N. And finally, question set 7.1 to 7.20. Of course, you can also ask the question, okay, given these cases that have service A, so type A, how many of those cases are covered by a given combination? So combis 1 to 5, so hence 5 questions for type A. 7.6 to 7.20 is 3 sets of 5 questions for type B, C, and N. Now, when you so basically, I gave all this blurb to DeepSeek, so that is context, data, and a total of 52 questions, which is I mentioned that explicitly here because sometimes I hear people say that, oh yeah, they thought that maybe they need to ask question by question to DeepSeek. Well, okay, so these questions that I just presented here, so that's a total of 52 questions, including, of course, the ones that are marked in gray. That was one prompt. So the whole prompt was context, data, and questions in that order, a whole blurb of text. Does that go well? Yes, it does, because then the thinking phase starts. And one very cool feature about DeepSeek is that you can put the thinking mode on, which is the thinking and also the searching mode. But when you, for instance, so searching would be useful, for instance, for searching sources. But the thinking mode is, okay, you ask a question. Here I have given context, data, and I have a bunch of questions. DeepSeek needs to think about the answers. And one really cool feature about DeepSeek is that it tells you, A, how long it had to think. It thought for 134 seconds. And that time, these 134 seconds, was the time that DeepSeek needed to write out this piece of text and a whole blurb of other text, which I haven't shown here on the screen. I mean, if it's of interest, I can shoot another video at some point where I show the exact gray text. So what is gray is thinking text. Whatever is like really like normal color is is outcomes, but yeah, before it gives the outcomes, it really shows the whole thought process. So it summarizes the context information that I gave, 50 sales reps, which variables, what is needed. So yeah, and then basically it starts thinking. And for that whole piece, it needed 2 minutes and 14 seconds, right? 134 seconds. Once it was done, it spit out, first of all, the basic frequencies, because questions 1.1 to 1.4 were about basic frequencies. And then it started also to give all these the answers to questions 2.1 until 7.20 in this format here. Which is really cool. It doesn't give only the outcome. I mean, for frequencies, of course, it makes sense that it just gives the outcomes. Although in the thinking text, it also explains how it gets to those outcomes, so which is really useful. And so, but for the other questions, it shows not only the percentage that is the outcome, but also the underlying calculation, which is really good, because I mean, I always recommend if you want to use a large language model for data analysis, you first want to double check your language prompt and your outcomes with a program that is known to provide the right solutions for your problem, which in this case could be anything in R, anything in Python, or in fuzzy set qualitative comparative analysis, which is another program for qualitative comparative analysis. There are different options. Even in Excel, you could tackle this because it's not a very complicated data set. So you will want to check the outcomes, and of course, if DeepSeek provides not only the percentage but also the actual numbers that resulted in that percentage, you can see if DeepSeek has not only gotten to the right outcome but also followed the right rules, the correct rules. So after all that blurb of information, I mean, I show here only question 2.1, but there was a whole blurb all the way until 7.20, which I'm not going to show in this video all on the screen. It's boring. But after that, I asked, okay, can we present the answers to the above questions in a total of 7 tables? Because we had questions 1.1 to 1.4 and then 2.1 all the way to 7.20. So yes, thought for 78 seconds. Again, this is not the whole thinking text, but the first part, and it basically already recognizes how to order the tables given the sets of questions, which is it's perfect. I mean, seriously, it's good. So, what do you get? Well, first of all, table 1, basic frequencies. Why is this useful? Because here you see, for instance, that all frequencies are above 5. That is really desirable. I mean, if the data set was larger, I would recommend to even take a larger, to consider larger frequencies. But okay, for a data set of 50, 5 seems a good lower bound. But why do I personally use 5 as a lower bound? Different people may prefer different cutoffs, different numbers here. Why do I prefer 5 or more? 5 would be the lower bound here, because well, you want, I mean, all the consistency and coverage estimates that we consistency and coverage outcomes that we want here are of course based on those frequencies. And if there is, let's say only 3 people that had summarizing a strength, well, that means that the consistency would be either 0, 33%, 67%, or 100%. I don't personally want to draw conclusions about consistency based on only like 2 or 3 observations, for instance. I mean, it would be like saying, yesterday night half of the village here was drunk. How do you know? Well, I asked 2 people. One was drunk and one wasn't. Of course, that doesn't work like that. So the same is the same here. You don't want these frequencies to be too small. The same for coverage. If you have only 2 people that sell no service, now it's 8. But if it was only 2, what do the coverage estimates of 0, 50%, or 100% mean? Probably not much. So I want these frequencies to be above 5, which or at least 5 or above. 5 would be 10% of the total sample. Table 2. Well, what do you see here? Here you have consistency. Consistency is about, here it lists it, this is print screens from DeepSeek, really, a percentage of each strength that resulted in each type. Perfect, that's exactly how I defined consistency. To what extent does questioning a strength result in type A service being sold? Well, in 68% of the cases, these rows together make up 100%. Because, well, any sales rep sells either service A or B or C or none. So given a strength, you have one of these 4 options. In this case, 68% of the cases that have questioning as a strength sell type A. Is this a good number? Well, it's just over 2/3. I wouldn't say it's a brilliant number. I think it's I mean, often you want consistency to be like 80% or a little bit more, and definitely you don't want it. I mean, something like 50% for it, it's useless. It's like tossing a coin. That you don't want those numbers. So I mean, I usually when I do exploratory work, I keep as a threshold, minimum threshold for consistency around 60%, and then compare different solutions. So this is the only number in this table that is above 60%. In the next one, consistency allowing one strength or another, because this is based on, okay, given questioning as an area of improvement, that means that these are the people that have either opening or summarizing a strength. In this table, you see no number that is convincing in terms of consistency. Even, I mean, the best here is 50%, which means that those folks that have opening as area of improvement, meaning either questioning or summarizing a strength, only in 50% of the cases do they sell type A, and the rest of the numbers are even lower. So not really informative in terms of good consistency. Table 4, that is already a little bit different. So here we look at the extent to which the different combinations result in given services sold. So the 75% here, for instance, combination 1 was the group of sales reps that has questioning as strength and summarizing as area of improvement, meaning opening is somewhere in between. The sales reps that have that profile, that was like 16, 12 of those, you can go back in the video, you will see that that's the case. So there are 16 sales reps of this combination. 12 of those have type A. So given this combination, there is a 75% chance that type A is sold. And well, the other 25% is divided over B, C, and nothing. So again, it seems that questioning is well, could be interesting, fairly interesting, right? In any case, yeah, it's the best number in this table. Now, single strengths coverage. Now, notice that in the consistency, DeepSeek has provided the features or combinations of features on the left, and the types here on top. Now it's the other way around, because coverage is percentage of each type that has each strength. In this case, for questions 5.1 to 5.12 was that. Do we see any interesting numbers? Yes. We see, for example, that of the people who sold, so of the sales reps who sold service A, 88% has questioning as a strength. So again, a little bit more evidence that questioning is probably an interesting skill for selling service A. So this is a very good number. This kind of coverage is, again, for coverage, usually you want numbers of 75% or up. You ask different people, you may get different numbers. The more, the better. But 88%, I think anyone would agree, is a good number. And then another good, interesting indicator here is the 71% that you see. So 71 of the type C sales, 71% of the type C sales is covered by reps with strength opening. So meaning area of improvement being either questioning or summarizing. So it seems that, yeah, so you see, so in type C, most of the cases you find are cases with good opening. Okay, these two are definitely the most interesting numbers in this table. Table 6, coverage allowing one strength or another, because again, improvement, area of improvement Q means that the strength is either O or S for this people, for instance. Do you see any interesting numbers in this table at all? Well, we see, first of all, we see that the 88%, rounded of course, almost 88% of the cases where no service was sold, you actually there you deal with people who lack good questioning. So they have a strength in either opening or summarizing, but in the questioning they have things to improve, right? So that is interesting in the N category, in the no service sold category. And another interesting number, 70% and upward, usually for coverage, I find interesting. Sometimes for experimental studies, I use 60% as a threshold, but again, the lower, the higher, the better, the closer to 100%, the better. In this case, you could say 71% of the type A sales are from reps that had either questioning or opening as a strength, right? We saw before that the strength questioning is actually the biggest. Strength opening doesn't add so much. Because with only strength questioning, it was, let's see, it was for the A service, 88%. Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. And finally, coverage of with one given strength and 1 second best, because again, one combination means something. So in this case, the combination 1 was the ones that have questioning as strength, then opening and summarizing as area of improvement. And the single most interesting number here, for the rest nothing stands out, only this one, 71% of type A sales by reps where it was first questioning, then opening, then summarizing. So yeah, so and again, different people might draw different conclusions based on these numbers, but this is a very basic worked example of qualitative comparative analysis using DeepSeek. I mean, you can do this kind of analysis also in R. I personally do it in R. When you know how to code in R, it's actually quite easy. It's a while ago that I used Python for the last time, but I did this in Python should also be fairly easy. And you can also, there is a program called fuzzy set qualitative comparative analysis where you should be able to do this, although some tweak would be needed, because in that program, in the fuzzy set qualitative comparative analysis, the outcome variable should be ordinal or quantitative, and then you work with cutoffs. While here, the outcome variable is a nominal variable. It's A, B, C. There is no information as to whether one of these services is better or more important than the other. And while no service, some might say, yeah, but no service sold is in any case worse than the other three. Well, it depends. I mean, as a salesperson, you don't just want to sell, you also want to sell the right services to the right people. Because if you sell a service to a customer and that customer later says this was a service that I really didn't need, this was a waste of money, of course the company gets negative reviews. So no service sold isn't necessarily inferior to the other three either. So you could say these four are distinguishable but nominal outcomes. They cannot be ordered in an ordinal fashion, in an unequivocal way, which wouldn't lead to discussion. So this is a multi-category nominal variable, and there the fuzzy set qualitative comparative analysis FSQCA program doesn't really work. So, but yeah, DeepSeek provides 100% correct answers. Now, maybe just to quickly come back to ChatGPT, I mentioned at the beginning that ChatGPT made a few mistakes, and those mistakes were actually made in this table here. That some of the combis were like somehow mixed for some very weird reason, because the same data was fed to ChatGPT, but some of the percentages were incorrect, which of course is not what you want. DeepSeek gave a 100% correct performance, and as I mentioned, provides all the thinking process written out, so you can actually see what on earth the program has done, how it arrives at all these numbers, right? Okay, a little bit longer video than usual. I hope you find it useful. I will probably be shooting a few more videos on this topic, or at least similar topics. It's something that I'm working with quite a bit, and I notice with clients that I have that more people have quite a bit of questions about them, because well, platforms like DeepSeek and ChatGPT are on the rise. Well, what can we do with it? What are the limitations? I get a lot of questions from clients. And well, I hope that this kind of videos helps to clarify some of those questions, and to shed some light on options that these programs have, on possibilities that we have as researchers, as scholars, as professionals, um, with data, and then trying to get the best out of that data. Having said, thank you very much for watching, for listening. Thank you for your time. I hope it was useful, and perhaps I will see you in another video. Have a nice day.